In the last hour here in Israel, the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been visiting the site of a fatal Iranian ballistic missile strike on Sunday. Now, this happened at Beit Shemesh between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. 9 Israelis were killed, including 3 teenagers. Let's take a listen to what Benjamin Netanyahu said.
This is the third day of the Operation Roaring Lion, the operation the Israeli army and the state of Israel set out to, with our great friends, the United States of America and President Trump, to thwart existential threats to Israel and great threats to America and the entire world. When I stand here in a place that was bombarded by the terrorists in Tehran against innocent civilians, you see the difference. The tyrants of Tehran target civilians. We target the tyrants of Tehran to protect civilians. I've said for many years that they threaten not only Israel, and not only America. They chant death to Israel, death to America. That's their ultimate target. But I said that they would also target those in between, that they would target Europe. They did. And if this regime, this terrorist regime of the kind we've never seen in the world, if they get nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them, ballistic missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, they will threaten all of humanity. So we set out to protect ourselves, but in so doing, we protect many others. And I want to say special thanks to our great friend and a great leader of the world, Donald Trump, for joining us in this crucial effort to save the world.
Well, I want to take you from here in Tel Aviv to Lebanon now. These are live pictures of the scene at the moment of Beirut, the Lebanese capital. As sunset approaches, as you can see, that's what's happening there right now. But just in the last hour, we've seen these pictures of smoke rising once again after multiple blasts in the city. The IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, has warned people in the south of Lebanon to evacuate at least 50 villages. Now, these strikes began overnight. This was when Hezbollah fired rockets and drones towards Israel. They put out a statement to say that they were doing that to avenge the death of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. Well, let's talk to our correspondent, John Donnison, now, who is on the Israel-Lebanon border. John, you're just on the Israeli side there. This is a border where people living both in Lebanon and in Israel are well used to conflict. What is happening there at the moment?
Well, this is the small town of Metula. As you say, it's about as close as to the Lebanese border as you can get. If you just look behind me, you can see the border wall there. And if you look beyond that, that ruined village behind it is actually a Lebanese village, and that was destroyed in the war between Israel and Hezbollah, 18 months ago. Now, for much of the last few years, these towns up in the north of Israel were evacuated since the war in Gaza started. People were sent away from their homes for well over a year. They've begun to return up here, and now they have the prospect of another conflict. Now, it's been relatively quiet here today. When we were driving up north, we did have to pull over at a bomb shelter because we had warnings of some rockets might be heading our way. And I was actually speaking to a reservist soldier there. Now, some 100,000 Israeli reservist soldiers have been called up for this conflict. I asked him, did he back Prime Minister Netanyahu in starting this war with Iran, which has now spread to just about every country in the region? And his reply, 100% yes.
John, thank you very much. John Donnison there, our correspondent in Israel, as he was saying, they're right there on the border between Israel and Lebanon. I also want to take you to Iraqi Kurdistan now. Our senior international correspondent, Orla Guerin, is there. She is in Erbil at the moment. Orla, tell us about, well, the significance. We've been talking about how wide this conflict is becoming here in the Middle East. Tell us about the significance of where you are.
Well, I think what's very clear at this stage, Anna, is that the attack which was launched on Saturday by Israel and America has an effect lit a match in the world's most volatile region. And we're already seeing how this is spinning out to other countries, how it's taking in the Gulf, for example. It's very clear that the regime in Iran is determined to spread the pain. It is targeting America's Gulf allies to make sure that they come under pressure. It will be hoping that they will then in turn pressure President Trump. We've also seen attacks taking place here last night. Just a few hours before we arrived, there was a drone strike on Erbil International Airport, which is just a short distance behind me, and that's also an area that houses US military. We have no confirmed information about whether or not there were any casualties there. It's been quiet, Anna, in the last few hours, but this morning we had 2 rounds of drone strikes, attempts being made to target the US consulate. And I could hear one of those explosions very clearly. I think that was the interception of a Shahed drone. The government here in Iraq has declared 3 days of national mourning. It has referred to the killing of Iran's supreme leader as a blatant act of aggression. And it's very clearly worried about how what is being done by America and Israel and the retaliation that's coming from Iran could spread across the region and cause even greater instability. And I think the reality is it is simply unknowable. Nobody can be sure at this stage how events are going to play out in the coming days and weeks. And that certainly applies to President Donald Trump. His defense secretary is saying we didn't start this war, we're finishing a war, but there's simply no way of knowing how long all of this is going to go on and how much worse things may get.
Ola, tell us a little more, because this is a region where you have covered conflict for a very long time now. Tell us about that very delicate and difficult and often fractured patchwork of relationships here in the region, as you were saying, coming under increasing unpredictable strain now.
Well, particularly here in Iraq, this is a country where stability is fragile at the very best of times. And it was very striking when we arrived last night, Anna, after midnight, having driven in from the Turkish border, because of course airspace remains closed. We came to a hotel where we've stayed many times before, and to hotel staff who we know and recognise. And it's not an exaggeration to say you could see the fear on their faces as we were arriving. And the first thing they did was advise us to stay in rooms on lower floors that would be at less risk of any potential drone strike. They took us to the basement. They wanted to see that that area where staff are normally working had been opened up to provide a space for guests if they wanted to take shelter. And I think it's very clear within the region that there is a huge amount of anxiety about where all of this could go. Let's not forget it's only last year that we had the 12-day war between Israel and Iran when America joined in. That was a relatively short, relatively contained conflict. Now we have something much wider, and something that, frankly, in my years of covering this region, we have never seen before. Fires literally in so many parts of the Middle East. In the Gulf states, we have a new front, if you like, being opened up again today, with Hezbollah firing at Israel. Hezbollah, the Lebanese Shia militia, Iranian-backed, Israel firing back. Those huge explosions in Beirut, a city we both know well, where people are only just trying to get back to a sense of normality after the last war with Israel. So I think something has been started, and the fear is that the escalation could be broad, it could be deep. We've had the NATO Secretary General saying on BBC News that Europe is behind what America and Israel are doing. But I think we really are in uncharted territory here. And it's very unclear if Donald Trump himself has an end game, and if, you know, what that end game may be. We've seen, for example, that the regime in Tehran has not fallen apart in 2 days with the killing of the supreme leader. And anybody who has watched the Islamic Republic for the last 50 years would know that that was never going to be the case. There are structures and systems and potential successors already in place. So if America and Israel really want to see regime change in Iran, They will have to continue this for a long time. How much are they going to bomb? What targets are they going to hit? How many civilian casualties are they going to cause? How many American fatalities in return are going to happen in the region? We know already that there are 4, but America is being prepared by Donald Trump for many more. So I think we're now at the beginning of something which we really can't assess how long it will go on, how bad it will get. We know already that there are grave implications, for example, on the economic front for the price of oil. If the Iranians were to close the Strait of Hormuz, that would have an immediate and dramatic impact on global oil and liquefied gas supplies all around the world. And then you have the many foreign nationals who are trapped in the Gulf. You have the many holidaymakers, Britons among them, many of them who have been cowering in their hotel rooms, waiting to see if airspace will be reopened and that they will have a chance to get home. And of course, you have Britain now deciding that it will allow its bases to be used for what it's calling defensive strikes. So all around in every direction, what we see is escalation, greater risk and greater danger.
Orla Guerin, our senior international correspondent, thank you for your insight.